Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Matt Don't Play, and I am really excited about this build. I've made it to the Western Wilds, and this is the perfect map to build my family farm. What a cool day for me. I get to build my family farm. A subscriber asked me to do a build on Western Wilds, and as soon as I saw it, I knew this was the perfect map to build my family farm. So I bought fields 21 through 24 to start this build. Now I did do some work on the map prior to recording. I fenced off the purchased land to create a boundary so I could line everything up how I wanted it. I also removed a few trees and cleared some land to get this build started. Sorry to all the people who love the boring stuff, but it has no place on this channel. So I've already placed one house on one side of the land. Now I'm going to place this shouse on the other side. I'll explain these later. But this is just to get some spacing for the houses, and so I get the right look. Like I said before, this is pretty cool for me, so I hope I don't get too in the weeds with this, get it in the weeds, and go overboard with the details. I guess we'll see at the end. Anyway, I'm starting here in the center-ish of the property, where my parents currently live. No, they don't live in a French-style chateau, but unfortunately it's the only farmhouse mod that has the garage door on the left when you're facing it. And for this build, it was key to the look and feel I was going for. Just a quick cleanup here of the yard before I get to building. Nothing too important. Just something I do that helps with the finer details later. So now I'm looking for a workshop that goes next to the house. Just like every build, I'm using mods that are available. They obviously don't fit perfectly to what I have in real life, but I'm trying to find what's out there and what's closest to what I actually have. Like this shop, for example, it's probably a little bigger than what's actually there, and there's way too many doors on this one. But it looks close, and it's usable. So for gameplay purposes, it works really well. In fact, it probably works better in game than it does in real life, because that shop actually has a garage door facing the back of the one in front of it. Basically, it's now a glorified storage shed. This is our hay barn I'm putting down now. This one's probably a little smaller than what we have in real life, but it's the closest looking one, so I compromised. And then really love this new lean-to mod that's just been added. Glad I got to use it for this build. Even though our hay barn is open-sided with the lean-to, it still gives that real look that I'm looking for on this build. Now it's time to add some details to the barnyard. I'm going to work on getting a fence outline here. This will help me with my field sizes and getting things in the right spot. In the late 70s, early 80s, my parents bought 60 acres of land with a little farmhouse on it, way out in the country away from the city, just like my dad always wanted. Not too long after that, I came along, and that tiny little farmhouse had to be moved down the road, and we built a new farmhouse in its place, and it's currently still there. Then my brother showed up, and he's the reason we have to split everything up 3 ways. It's okay. He's out there right now getting ready to build a house and runs about 15 head of cattle on the property. I'd say the place is in pretty good hands, between the two of them being out there full time. Anyway, growing up, we rented out the farmable land to neighbors. Mainly they baled alfalfa off the fields. There was a few years that they planted green grays, which I believe is a sorghum millet hybrid. But back then, if you'd asked me, we were growing corn. Because to me, that's what it looked like. Help me out. If you know what green grays is, leave a comment below and let me know. Now that I've got the outline of this part of the farm, I'm going to go through and add some details, make it really look like it does in real life, or at least try to. I hope I didn't get too detail oriented or try to make things too perfect, but when you have an actual visual representation of your head, it's hard not to go overboard. I can't help but to try to make this just right. One of the other reasons why I thought this map was perfect for this build was all the different textures that you don't get with some of the other maps. Different gravels, different grasses, different rocks. All that stuff played a part into this build, and it made it even better for me. Take this gravel, for example. It's not bright, it's not clean. It looks like it's been there for years. Kind of got that dirty look to it. Just makes it all the more natural for something that's been there for 20, 25 years. Now it's time to get a little dirty. Giving the barnyard that trampled, muddy look that cows leave behind when they're gathered in one spot for a long period of time. This is where we feed and water our cows, so they're gathered here quite often. If I do say so myself, I was quite impressed with my fence building. They're straight enough to keep the fields nice and usable for equipment, but just crooked enough to make it feel like it's real life. So I had to use these gates for a couple reasons. It's not actually what we have on our farm. We have the nice preferred metal gates, but the metal gates in game are just too small to let even regular equipment through. So I had to use these big wooden double gates. I think these are the biggest ones I could find, so that's why I went with these. I do plan on playing this map, this farm, this build. So I had to make some compromises here so that way I still had the look, but could also use it while playing. Time to add the garden. As a kid, the garden was on the other side of the house, but several years ago, me and my brother and our families decided to have kind of a family garden, and so we moved it out to this location. This year we've got tomatoes, watermelon, pumpkins, zucchini, and green beans out there. Oh yeah, and okra. And despite being in a drought, it's actually turning out pretty good this year. I know I've said this in other builds, but man, gates are annoying. They never snap where you want them to, and they always seem to be crooked. I always end up spending way too much time on gates. Like I said before, I was trying to build everything to real life. But then I remembered I turned the shed around. And so then I had to abandon some of that and put some gravel in places that it's not there in real life. Same with this tank. I thought there was a smaller propane tank, but there's not. So in substitute, I use this diesel tank. I'm really fighting my OCD on the balance of perfect and usable. But I think I'm doing okay. Time to add the trees to my parents' yard. First one has to be the walnut tree, or elm, as the game keeps trying to tell me. The next tree I have to place down is that silver maple in the backyard. My grandparents gave it to us when we were kids, and I've never seen a tree grow so fast. It's huge now. It provides plenty of shade for the grandkids' trampoline. Now back to some fence building. And yes, the fences are a bit wonky on this part of the farm in real life. My dad was trying to create a few separate pastures for the cattle, and that's just kind of how it worked out. Also, we had some food plots in the past, which cut up the fields into different sections. And the last reason is my brother's a huge hunter, and there's a wooded area that has a ton of deer in it. So naturally, they added a fence to keep the cattle out during hunting season. Makes sense, right? Now it's time to add our shallow pond. It's the first time using this mod, so I had a little bit of trouble with it, but ultimately I like how it turned out. And once I got the hang of it, it's really easy to use. If you want to add your own pond, just learn from me. In this video, you've got to modify your ground and put a divot there. Because if you don't, the pond is still there. It's just underneath the ground layer. It will cause a collision and keep you from building and doing other things in that area. So as long as I've been out there, there's been this little shack out in the woods. So you know I had to place it out there. At first, I thought it was super creepy and hated going out there. But as I got older, I thought it was pretty cool. All my friends like to go out there and hang out, and we tried to guess what it was used for, and I always wanted to turn it into a fort or a playhouse or something like that, but it was just too far gone. It does come in handy as a nice deer blind though. The cool thing is, now our kids go out there and hang out and make up stories about what it's used for and what happened out there. Oh, the stories they've come up with. Now I'm using the forest grass texture to place down the wooded area that we have on our farm. Makes the perfect outline, and you'll see here later how I use it to build trees and build my own forest. Here's another great new texture that I'm using. This matted grass or dry grass area to create a path that we have in the woods. So now I'm using some trees to mark out kind of my outline. I don't really want to get the trees in the paths because they're so hard to cut down. So I'm just trying to mark some outlines and use that to my advantage. Now time to place lots and lots of trees. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, and if so, please leave a comment down below to tell me how. But this was also a fun way, more random, just point and click and move the mouse as fast as I could. I did give it a thought of actually planting harvestable trees here in this location, but I wanted the different species. I wanted that grown-up look that I don't think you get from planted trees. I did it. Planted a few trees in the pathway. So mad at myself. I'll have to come back and take care of those later, I guess. Like I said in another video, we all have that area, and this is ours. It's kind of our junk area. We do burn trash sometimes, so. And that blue truck is mine. It's a 54 Chevy 1.5 ton cab chassis that I hope to get up and running someday. Back to the rest of the junk pile. Unfortunately, after I recorded this video, a mod came out that had trash cans and dumpsters and a junk pile. It was just a few days too late and didn't get to use it. But I will update the save game that I play personally. Can't forget to add these tree groves that we have growing in the field. I've always wanted to get rid of them, but now that we have cattle, it makes a great spot for them to go hide during the hot sunny days. So I've grown accustomed to them, and I think they'll probably stay forever now. But they do kind of chop up the field. It's just a neat characteristic of this real world farm, and why I chose to keep it in this build. While we don't know for sure, I'd be willing to guess that this tree line was an old property line that never got removed when it changed hands years back. And this brown spot in the middle, it's what my dad calls the old buffalo waller. And as crazy it sounds, it's almost always muddy there. So again, it's another feature that I just could not leave out. Okay, I'm wrapping up this portion of the farm, going back and adding some details of the grass and putting the finishing touches on it before I move on to the next part of the property. Some of you might have noticed I didn't put trees in this area right here. Well, there's a reason. That is our current food plot that my brother has out on his property. And he's seen some monster bucks on his game cam. So I think it's working. One of my favorite details I've added to my builds are these patches of grass in the dirt, or adding the cattle runs to the fields. It just adds such a level of realism that I just love. And I hope you do too. Another awesome texture that takes this build to the next level is this grassy gravel. Just makes these lanes look driven on and how they look on any other farm in the country. Such a neat touch. Really hoping these textures get added to more maps. Just a few finishing touches here, and that'll do it for my parents' portion of the farm build. One last look over this part, and now we're gonna head to my place. I don't know if I've said it yet, but my family has not moved out to the farm yet. So this part is still just a dream. We're still kind of planning and figuring out what we want to do out there. So none of this is actually out there. So the detail might not be the same as the last part of the build. But the fun thing is I get to play around. I get to figure out what I want. And in this stage, if I don't like it, it's an easy delete and I can start over. Fortunately, you can't do that in the real world without taking it in the pocketbook. Okay, so some actual features that we do want. We do want to live off the road quite a ways, so that's going to be real. We do love the shop house look, or the shouse look, so that'll be something we're going to incorporate into our real world build eventually. The rest is kind of all up in the air. Like this fence right now. After I built it and saw it, I knew I didn't like it. So in the real world, I'll probably use cattle guards to keep the cows out of our yard. But since they don't have cattle guards in the game, I had to go with a fence for now. Again, another reason why this build is coming together so perfectly for me. This Powerline mod just popped up on the mod hub, and I knew I just had to use it in this build, because I remember from planning my own house that this is how it'd look. Something else I've always wanted is a farm entrance, so why not add one now? Thought I'd add a row of trees down the driveway. I doubt I do this in real life, but I just kind of like the look of it here for this farm, so I stuck with it. A lot of fence building in this episode. Again, just trying to mark out my yard. Trying to keep things somewhat straight, but also not worried about it if it's a little crooked or off when it snaps in place. Just trying to keep some character in the farm. Apologize for the jump ahead in the build. Not sure what happened, but I seem to have lost about 10 minutes of this recording. I went back to try to rebuild it, but I couldn't make it match up, especially with what I'd already built. And I knew the flyover part would just not look right. And that's my favorite part of these videos, showing off the finished product, and I want that to match. Anyway, I think I said earlier my brother is in the process of building his house out there right now. Other than the location on the farm, all of this part of the build is just a guess of what I think it's going to look like in the future. Since you've made it this far, I'm hoping that you like this video. So reach down there and smash that like button for me. It's huge for my channel and other channels like mine. And it's such a simple and easy gesture on your part to hit that like button. So if you are enjoying content on YouTube, let your favorite creators know with a like. And while you're in the neighborhood, you might as well hit that subscribe button too. Just putting in one last tree line. This tree line is there in real life. It separates two properties. And since this has a train track, I thought it'd be even more important to put it in this one. Just adding a few details to this side of the build. Just trying to give it that character. Want to make all three properties just a little bit different. Try not to do the same thing in each. And I hope I've done that. Check out this flyover. Again, this is such a special build for me, and I am so happy with how it turned out. The detail, especially when you're on the ground looking around, it feels like real life, and that's pretty cool. That's a wrap on this build. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel, hit that like button, leave a comment on this video and all my videos. And even better, share it with a friend. Until next time, I'm Matt Don't Play.